8, 9, 8 zeros in division. Did you know zeros can be spelled this way or this way? Did you know that? Both are correct.
I did, because like I just remember spelling it wrong.
Well, you can't spell it. How can you spell it wrong? It's both ways are acceptable spellings of zeros.
Z-E-R.
Personally, I write it this way more often than not, but the book wrote it this way this time. But either way.
What if I write that on spelling test?
So, we'll go through some of these here. Looking at this stuff here will be a little more challenging, but I'm looking at page 308. Lots of info. Read it if you wish. 309. There's our work. So, looking at number 1. And once again, some of your homework here. You'll have 6 of them that will come out in the vertical form. I once again suggest most of you took me up on it to rewrite it in this form and solve it. Uriah, you had your method. I saw what you did, and that's fine. Yeah, I saw what you did. Uriah short division did, and you did it. So,
I loved it.
but make sure to justify your work somehow. There should be pencil scratches and stuff around the page here. Otherwise, if it looks all unflatted and there's not a mark anywhere, it's, how do I know? You can just punch it all in a calculator, right? Right, that's what I think. May or may not be true, but truth is, there should be some element of showing work on some of these here. Okay, so go ahead and solve if I went back to this situation here, we know 14 divided by 2 is 7. If I wrote it this way, 1 4/10, well now I get 7/10. And if I wrote it this way, I'd get, well, 2 doesn't go into that at all, but you can probably see the pattern that's forming here. Each of these should give me a different answer, right? So this one will give me another different answer. But when we're dealing with decimals, again, first thing I usually do is just get my decimal place. The decimal still doesn't move. And 2, of course, we know it's going to be some combination of 7 here. But when you're dealing with decimals, again, 1, 2, 3 decimal spots, my answer should also have 3 decimal spots to it. This one didn't have any. This one had 1 decimal spot. My answer had 1 decimal spot. This one had 2 decimal spots. My answer has 2 decimal spots. This one has 3 decimals. My answer will have 3 decimal spots. So that matters a lot because you can see that each of these here, in a sense, they're all 14 divided by 2, kind of. But they're also a little different. 14, 1 4/10, 14 hundredths, 14 thousandths. All of them should give us a different answer. So whenever you're dealing with a decimal, you need to ensure that you insert a value in every single decimal place value. So what I'm saying here, we don't necessarily need to do that for the whole numbers here because it's just after the decimal to make sure that 7 is in the right spot for our answer here. So every single decimal spot needs a value. So when I get to this 0, 2 doesn't go into 0 at all. But I need that 0 there because, again, that's in the tenths column. Then I go next door. Well, 2 doesn't go into 1 either. And I insert another 0 there. And then 2 goes into 14 in the thousandths column 7 times. And this would be my final answer here. If I go through and check it, which I, can easily do, take my decimal, 7 thousandths times 2. 2 times 7 is 14. Count my decimals, 3 there, 0 there, grand total of 3, 1, 2. I need to insert that 0 myself. And there, and lo and behold, I'm right back to where I started. To make sure that I'm not representing 7/10 or 7/100 here. I need to make sure that I'm representing the right value with the right amount of decimal spots to it. The answer is 7 thousandths. And again, to do that, each decimal spot, you need to incorporate a value. It's not just X's or something like that there. It's just these zeros have significance. And again, you can see when we go back check it, it does give us the right answer there. So generally speaking, when you're going through this type of stuff here, again, we're going to run into some other situations here a little in a couple more problems, but generally speaking, however many decimal spots you have is how many decimal spots your answer should have. Okay? All right. Why don't you guys try number, I don't know, 4.
Ooh. Are you gonna start drawing sticks?
Hey, you guys can try this one here on your own. So get my decimal place there. Walk through this one. I want to get to some of the other ones here. So 6 goes into 6 one time. Drop the 1. 6 doesn't go into 1 any times. And then the next thing I'd want to do is just drop the 5, or you can do 0 times 6 is 0, 1 minus 0 is 1. If you want to do that step, that's fine. Or you can just move right to dropping the 5, whatever you want to do. 6 goes into 15 2 times.
Dose.
Now, when I subtract, what happened here?
You got remainder.
No, that's not what I'm going to want to use here. I can't have a decimal and a remainder. That wouldn't work right here. So I'm not done solving this problem here because I've finished the problem when I get 0, when I subtract. Right? That's when you're done. But I still got stuff left here. So what do I need to do? Right. In the thousands column now, I can just add my own 0 myself. Right there. I haven't changed the value. 6 and 15 hundredths is the same as 6 and 150 thousandths. Putting a 0 there has not changed. I can add as many zeros as I want, and it's still the exact same number. Because I'm after the decimal. Obviously, if I'm before the decimal and insert zeros, well, that's not going to work so well, because 10 is very different from 100. But after the fact here, in these place values, it has no bearing. But why do I do it? Well, because I still have this 3 left, and now I can drop that 0 down. I can drop that 0 down, and I can continue to solve this problem. How many times does 6 go into 30? 5 times. And now, when I do 30 minus 30, I have finished the problem there. My answer this time is 1 and 25 thousandths. So, as you're going through here and subtracting, if you get to a point where you don't have any values left, but you're not at 0 when you subtract here, then it's up to you to add that next place value, a 0, and drop the 0 down and continue to solve the problem. These will all terminate, meaning they're not going to repeat or go on forever and ever and ever here. We're in 5th grade here. Just looking at the things here in the homework, I can tell you that none of them go farther than 3 decimal spots. None. So you won't have any answers that are 4 decimals out or anything like that. Okay? However, we're going to have to work some of these 4 decimal spots out in a moment here. You'll see why. So let me give you a couple here. See what you come up with here. Try number 8 or 7 and 8. Number 7 and number 8. And then we're going to go on to the next part here. So this type of scenario we're going to cover in more depth in a moment. To be honest with you, I wasn't thinking number 4 was going to throw that at me yet right now. I was a little off guard. So these should solve, terminate. You shouldn't have to add zeros, but we're going to explore that something like number 4 in a minute here. So my hope is neither of these were too challenging. If you want to put your 0 here, I'll work through them I want to get to the next part, work with you there. So 9 goes into 2, no times. 9 into 27, 3 times. Subtract the 27, 0, drop the 4. 9 goes into 4, 0 times. And again, I can do subtract 0 and I'll still have a 4 here in the end. But drop the 5. 9 goes into 45, 5 times. Verify, yep, no remainder. 305 thousandths. Yes?
Yes.
I hope so. Okay, next one. 7 doesn't go into 2. 7 goes into 21 3 times. Subtract the 21, get my 0, drop the 3. 7 goes into 3 0 times. Drop the 6. 7 goes into 36 5 times. 7 times 5, 35. 1, drop the 4. 7 into 14 2 times. No remainder. 3 and 52 thousandths. That go okay? All right, let's look at number 19. And pay attention here. So the directions say divide and round your answer to the nearest thousandth. So if I'm rounding to the nearest thousandth, how many decimal spots am I going to have to work this out? 4. Because why do I need to work it out 4 spots if I'm rounding to the nearest thousandth?
Because you have to have the 0.
Huh?
Because you have to have 0.
I'll have to add a bunch of zeros, but why do if I'm rounding to the nearest thousandth, why do I need 4 decimal
Because you have
spots?
to,
What's the significance of that 4th decimal?
for preparing for the, I don't know.
Because I'm going to have to round my answer. I'm going to have answers that go more than 4 decimal spots here, but I'm cutting it off at some point here. I don't want to just go forever and ever and ever and have an answer that's 9 decimals long. But that 4th decimal is my rounding decimal, because I need to know if I'm rounding the nearest thousandth, I need to know, do I need to round this thing up or do I need to round it down? And the only way I can figure that out is to go 1 more spot out. That 4th decimal is going to be my rounding decimal. If I get 0 to 4, I'm going to round down. If I get a 5 through 9 in that 4th decimal spot, I need to round up. So let's look at number 19. All right. And again, the directions say round to the nearest thousandth. And this is 3 divided by 2 and 9 tenths. So I'm going to start working it out here. But I know I'm going to, if they want it to the nearest thousandths, that's 3 decimal spots, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, right? So 3 doesn't go into 2. 3 goes into 29 9 times. And then 9 times 3 is 27. 9 minus 2, so I don't have a remainder yet. So what do I want to do next? Yep, get a 0 in that hundredths column there, bring that down. So now 3 goes into 20 6 times. 6 times 3 is 18. 20 minus 18 is 2. And you can probably see that we're stuck in a loop right now here. Or if I add another 0, bring it down, I got 3 into 20 yet again, which once again is 6 times. 6 times 3 is still 18. But if I'm rounding this to the nearest thousandth, this wouldn't be my answer, would it? because the next decimal, add one more, bring it down, yet again another 6. At this point here, I am now stopping. Because if I round this to the nearest thousandth, what is my final answer?
It would be 0 and 9,670, and that's it.
If you're rounding
You
to the
said the right three numbers, but it would just be, because this 6 tells me, because this is where I'm cutting it off, right? What does that 6 tell me?
that you're
Rounding up. So what's my final answer then, if I'm rounding this up here?
10,000? 1,000.
This is the 10,000th column, but I don't need to say that. My final answer is going to be 967 thousandths. That's rounded to the nearest thousandths, right? So that fourth decimal here, I'm not naming it, and I don't need to keep going any farther either. I don't need the 5th, the 6th, the 7th decimal. Not relevant. I just need that fourth decimal because that fourth decimal is my rounding. 5 through 9, round up. And then 0 through 4 either stay the same or round down. But if I have a 6, then I go next door here, I need to round that up to a 7. And if I round it to the nearest thousandths, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 967 thousandths would be my answer that I'm looking for this one here. Rounded to the nearest thousand.
Do you have any of those on your homework?
Yes. Yes, you do. Yep. Yes, you do. Right.
How many do we have?
8 of them. All right. Number 20. Feel free to give it a shot on your own. I'll work through it though. So 1 and 5/10 divided by 7. Rounding our answer to the nearest thousandth. I'll leave that example up there too.
Please don't make you first. It frustrates me that you always have to just keep going on.
A strategy you could consider, if it says round to the nearest thousandth, and in your homework it's round to the nearest thousandth, and on your quiz it'll be round to the nearest thousandth, and on your test it'll be round to the nearest thousandth. But you know you need 4 decimal spots. So you could write it with 4 decimal spots right off the bat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That way you got all the digits that you're going to need to do. Uriah, George, no.
Not cool, guys.
So if you just want to write it in this form right off the bat here with those 4 decimal spots, it's not the worst idea. And again, I'm not saying your answer is going to be finished here, but we don't really care about the 5th, 6th, 7th decimal. It doesn't matter. We're only going out 3 decimal spots, but I need that 4th one to help me round. So if you want to write them all out this way with the 4 decimals already in place, just put the zeros so you know exactly how far you're going to work it. It's not a bad idea. So 7 goes into 15 twice. 15 minus 14 is 1. Bring a 0 down. 7 into 10 one time. 10 minus 7 is 3. Bring the 0 down. 7 into 30 4 times. 28, a 2. And again, I don't know, is it 214 thousandths or 215 thousandths? I don't know yet. It's one of the two. And the only way I can know for sure is to work it out that one more decimal spot here. This is a 2, which means my final answer should be what?
0 and 214,000.
Right, that's the answer I'm looking for right there. And right, it's not done. I mean, I could keep going here, and then I'd have a 6, and then I'd have an 8 for the next one here, but I don't care about that anymore because this is where it ends. This is all I want. I want you to round it to the nearest thousandth. I don't need you to endlessly go with this problem here. We're cutting it off at a point here. So you see why we're doing the 4 decimal spots here, what we're trying to do here?
Yeah.
Because this is not uncommon in the real world where you'll be doing problems here, but they call it significant values, digits. How far do you really need to represent your answer? In certain cases here, how precise does the number need to be? So, and that can fluctuate greatly depending on what the application is and how far out you are and things like that. So, I mean, obviously, again, if you're building a deck, you probably don't need to go 4 decimal spots out. If you're building a nuclear bomb, well, you might want to make sure you're probably want to be a lot more precise with some of your measurements,
Remember
right?
21?
Right?
Yeah.
I'm just, maybe that's not a great, medicine or something. You probably want to be more significant than making a chalk figure on the ground or something. One doesn't need to be that precise. The other needs to be very, very precise. So, okay, give you 2 more and then we'll call it a day here. So I'll walk through them here for time purposes, but number 22. And 27. Last 2. I'll work through them, round them to the nearest thousandth. If you need help or want to practice some of these during study hall, you can come on over here. I'll certainly help you. Anybody with any of this here, if you need a little more practice with me.
Easy peasy.
At the minimum, I'm sure I'll pop my head in there and make sure you're not driving Mrs. Langland nuts.
We have a test we have to retake.
Oh, okay.
Everybody but George.
Yeah, if
And
you're,
me.
I didn't want to take it.
sometimes she comes over here and is frazzled with you guys. Well, I'm just saying, if you got time, if you want to come over and work, cool. If not, fine. If she wants to split you up, cool. If not, I'll walk over and just pop my head in and see what you're up to.
Oh, then we can say, hi, Mr. Melcher.
Right, and I'll say hi to you guys.
Mr. Melcher.
Hmm.
Tomorrow you say what did you Mrs. Anna that I did?
At some point here, I can look at that.
I always used to make the lines way longer than they are. How much coffee? Now I'm making them way shorter than they're supposed to.
I'm just trying to get it all in one cup here. Okay. If you're finishing, fine. If not, I'll kind of walk through them here and see if your work matches mine. So first thing I always like to do when dividing is I place my decimal. That way I don't forget it or get it in the wrong spot somehow. 9 into 18, 2 times. 18 minus 18 is 0. Drop the 3. 9 goes into 3, 0 times. So then I need to add a 0 of my own. 9 goes into 30, 3 times. 9 times 3 is 27. Drop one more 3 for my rounding purposes here. I get another 3. And again, I only need that digit to tell me if I'm rounding up or down. 0 through 4 tells me round down or stay where I'm at. Should come up with 203 thousandths for a final answer. Rounded answer. Rounded. 27. I'll get my decimal in place. If it helps you too, you can add write it out to 4 place values right off the bat here, which I did this time here. Totally up to you, whatever helps you here. 7 goes into 8 one time. Drop the 5, 7 into 15 twice. 1, a 0, 7 into 10 one time. 3. And 7 goes into 30 4 times. And that's where I'm ending it. I don't care. Subtract 28, not relevant anymore at this point. I just need that 4 to tell me I am, once again, rounding down or staying where I'm at. Should come up with 121 thousandths for that one there.
Holy
Type.
chalupa.
All right, there we go.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Thanks,
I love you,
Ella.
quit it.